Are you ready to get fired up about Power Up Radio with Dr. Pat? This new show is unleashed, unshaken, unstoppable, as Dr. Pat brings mind-blowing news conversations with top world thought leaders unleashed like never heard before. Conversations covering leading-edge and headline-worthy topics from pop culture to presidents, sex to spirituality, surviving to thriving. Dr. Pat is powered up and you don't want to miss it. Think authentic and spontaneous, fun no matter what. Power Up Radio starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of Power Up Radio and the Dr. Pat Show. Joining me here today as we really dig deep into, let's just use the term metaverse. Colton Nixon joining me here today. He's one of the producers at Transformation Talk Radio. And what we want to be able to do with you today is we want to talk about, just have a conversation. This episode is called the Ageless Metaverse, and there's a reason. Colton, great to have you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be on. It's an honor. Nice to see you, Dr. Pat. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
So what do you think of, let's just get out there a bit. So
Okay.
The reason I'm calling it the Ageless Metaverse is because I heard Mark Zuckerberg, that of course we know him as the guy, creator of, maker of all things Facebook. But I read an article, and I don't know if they misquoted him, so I'm just going to say it right now. But he said it would take, and this is his platform, Meta. He calls it Meta. He said it's going to take 5 years for Meta to go mainstream. And I thought, okay, maybe it's not metaverse, and I'm just saying, wait a minute. There are more people that know the term metaverse than they've ever heard before. Number one. Number two, the color palette for it is so different from anything technology driven. Three, it is assumed that, I'm just going to say it, people over 50 are not going to get it. So today, what we're peeling back is the onion that says, hello, people over 50, and the first use of the term metaverse and the first indoctrination to metaverse-like things happened in this generation. So Colton, this is how a major misunderstanding could cost whoever is talking about metaverse a lot of money if they market to the wrong people. You see what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I totally agree. Every time I think about metaverse, I always think about like Marvel and like, Stan Lee. I always talk about Stan Lee. He's one of my inspirations. I love Stan Lee, and he, he's in that kind of older generation, of course, and he, unfortunately passed away, but
yeah.
He's one of the people that really took this idea of the metaverse and like added it to his kind of content. So I think, that says something in itself as well. And I think, they are losing out on a lot of money if they don't kind of market it towards that type of, generation as well. So
well, let's just talk about like this crazy, it's not crazy, but I can't remember the name. Remember, like the game came out with the remote control. What the heck was it called? See, but we still use it in some of the clubs and places I go to. People love this thing where you have the remote control and you can bowl with it, right? You take
like the Wii.
The Wii.
Yeah,
Wii.
there we go. Okay. I love the Wii.
We love the Wii, and so why don't we think the Wii, three-dimensional? Who's playing with the Wii? Do you think that it's people that are in the 18 to 25 group? I'm just telling y'all, the Wii is hitting the population that nobody wants to talk to about the metaverse. And it's fascinating to me that we go into age bias about something that literally was brought to the forefront generations ago. Now, you did a little homework, right? I mean, the metaverse is, and okay, let's talk about Stan Lee. My man, I love this guy. I grew up on comic books. He literally saved me. He saved my life, because
Wow.
if it wasn't for those comic books where I grew up, I know that I wouldn't have made it out of my childhood. I know it. But
Yeah.
wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. That was like so long ago. So what was he, like an anomaly, or do you think he knew?
Oh man, maybe he knew. Maybe he knew. I feel like it's, it's hard to say. I think I also grew up on comic books. Obviously the older ones and everything. So I don't know. Maybe he did know. I like that point. I like that point a lot.
So what's your perspective on the metaverse? Give me, from where you sit. I'm so fascinated to really, I really want to hear from your generation.
Mm-hmm.
And between your generation and my generation, there are a lot of years, and we're not leaving y'all out. Okay, I'm just saying, but we're just kind of giving you two ends of the spectrums to see
Yeah.
if we depart or if we can agree on something here, right? Colton,
Yeah.
where do you sit with this?
I
Come on.
you know I think as someone who's in the younger generation, I think the my mom, I always talk about my mom and my family back at home. I think every time I go home, they always are playing the Wii and stuff like that. They're always interested in the younger generation because they care, and I think they care about, what's when they pass on, what's going to be left, and from their children and children, from other people and other families. And I think that's the big part of it, and that's the connection, is that they know, like, from generation to generation, there's always going to be, who's next and what's going to change. And I think that ties right into the metaverse as well. Like, like you were saying with the Wii, it's like they kind of, it's something that we can connect on because, maybe it was brought in at this point, at this level, and then now it's down here where, we can kind of play, like I can play the Wii with my mom, and she, can put up a fight in like a game, like a bowling game, you know what I mean? It's like that connection is there, I think, through that. And it's powerful stuff with technology and everything. So
Yeah, it is powerful. Okay, so let's just get right down to this next part about it being powerful, if we could. You did your homework. Tell me when you think the first signs of a metaverse showed up in our pop culture. Come on, you got to go back.
Oh man, I mean, you were saying, the movies, the Dune
The
movie.
Dune.
I think that might be it. Then, so I think, I think people didn't realize back then, like, how big things like that, truly can be. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Let me spoiler alert. I'm gonna tell you what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not talking about, I love the new version of Dune. By the way, I just love it. I love the actors, everybody from Rebecca Ferguson. I'm telling you, I just love the new Dune, Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya. I mean, I love the whole deal. However, okay, I'm also glad you're making me wait for part two. I'm also glad you're thinking about doing Messiah. Dune is a book.
yeah.
If you look at the book and you read the book, you're going to find some very fascinating things. But I will tell you, there was a movie, the first movie of Dune. Now, why am I bringing it up? Because whether it's the book or the movie, what they talked about in the movie, not the worms and the spot, but they teleported.
Mm-hmm.
They had a fascinating way of remote viewing. What is she saying? What? Right? I mean, they come through this thing, these spaceships, and they go from here to here, and they're just so. What is it going to take, Colton, to bridge the gap? Because here's the thing: metaverse, virtual reality. We're launching AI for the soul, so you know how important I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what if people of all ages could use this to learn?
Oh
What
yeah.
if you could do, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
Tell me what you think.
I completely agree. I love what you're saying there. I think it comes back to that kind of thing about like the extended kind of reality, and like even like your image back there. It's like all the, networking pieces, and I think it's everything's all connected through that. And, I think based on, past environments and new environments and new generations, I think throughout all of that, it's all connected. And I think that's, like I said, the real connection between that. And like you said, AI for the soul and all that. I think it's it's such a powerful thing, and it's connected to the new technology. I think that word new is just strong enough in itself, and I think things are changing for sure.
Yeah, and so like you can give me royalties if you go off and decide to create something for the market. It has to do with the older generations, but I want you to look at my background.
Okay.
Because I want to tell you how excited I am. When we launched the Transformation Network and we decided to use these, I'm telling you, I picked these colors 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when we launched the network, people looked at me and said, "You are nuts, man. Why are you using the purple and the blue? And that's like some woo-woo color." Do you know what these colors now represent? This is the color palette of technology, virtual reality, and metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could just stop judging each other and come together and say there's a greater good for this conversation than we're having right now. What do you think? What would be the Colton Nixon greater good conversation? Come on, tell me.
Man, I agree with that. I think, I obviously ahead of your time, you're way ahead. I think that, these are kind of, even just the color palette and everything kind of explains, I think that, we're moving on towards a new future. And I think that's my big thing. I think I'm always about like, what's the next step we can take? What's the next positive impact we can make, anything. I think and through people, like you were saying, like just networking through people. And I think technology goes hand in hand straight with that. And the just, even like you said, like back then 14 years ago, if you knew it 14 years ago, I think and just through a positive network like this, I think everybody can come together and influence the future for sure.
Now look, here's what I want to ask you to do, because I did a show with Barbara Scheidegger today, and she said, aging is an attitude, not a disease. And I think, we've learned this, Colton. We've learned in, whether it be assisted living or hospitals, that when you bring kids in to be around anybody, there is no generational gap. With our network, and we're launching our network April 1st, with our network, we've never seen a generational divide. And do I think, and if people said I'm from another planet, oh, that's okay. I'm okay with that. But that's not really it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that grows up, whether it be in the Marvel universe or the DC universe, or grows up in that world and draws comic books herself and created an entire line comic character, you have to know I'm going to come up with something like this. But for you, tell me what you're going to do with this.
Man, I guess just I guess I'd love to sit and watch, but I think it's important to be a part of it, and I think it's important to be a strong, like you know what I mean, like a strong hit in it, a strong like don't just bunt the ball, take the swing and be a part of the new kind of future and the new make any impact you can, and I know you have a purpose, and I really like what you said about that for sure.
Well, think about this, with parents, grandparents, whoever we have. Think about the first company. I don't know who.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who they're going to be. Maybe they're going to be us. Maybe they're us.
Hey, maybe it is.
Because you have to stay tuned for what we're crowdfunding for to find out. But what if you were part of something where we decided to take all the barriers of age down, all the barriers of race down, all the barriers religion down, all the barriers that you can possibly think of that separate us geographically or otherwise down. And we provided an opportunity for growth, human potential, and learning through the metaverse concept. What would you say to that? You think that's too far? You think I should be with the Mr. Zuckerberg out there 5 years from now, or what?
You know what? I would say that I think that's huge. I think as a big network, as a huge network, I think like as a people, like 7 billion people in the world, and I think that's huge. I think, you know, if all the barriers were down that separate all of us, and that division, that I think that's the big thing holding us back. I think, you know, division of people, like, you know, not just I don't like you and you don't like me, but I think the differences that don't even matter are really just you know, that causes biases, that causes everything. And I think that inflicts on people's lives directly. Like it's not like a, you know, something that's indirect. It's really direct. It affects your how you live, your job, your everything. And I think if those were down, and that's such a powerful thing, and that's such a strong network of people.
So let's explore. We have 1 minute. Let's
Okay.
go take everybody on a journey.
Yeah.
Imagine. Now, I went to PS14 in the Bronx. Obviously, that's a public school.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we can put in the hands of every student, every adult, a tool that one maybe will help you read better. Maybe you read better with words and pictures. What if we put something in their hands to help them be better at communication? What if you could literally see in the virtual reality world what great communication is and what it isn't? We already know that they have already targeted virtual reality for sports and athletics.
Mm-hmm.
But what if all people, regardless of how much money is in your bank account, your mom's bank account, had free access to the real metaverse, the metaverse of human potential? What would you say to that, Colton?
I'd say that's the future. I'd say that's it right there. I think that is the dream. And I think that's, you know, something that is not as far away as people might think, you know? So.
Okay. So on your list for your moms there, you better be looking at getting her some virtual reality stuff.
Hey,
okay?
I've already thought about that. I might have to get her on board with some metaverse.
Okay. Colton, last question. What's your
Yeah.
personal message? What would you like to leave us with?
Man, my personal message, I'd say, you know, just keep pushing, don't stop. I think that's my big thing. You know, persevere. I'm big on perseverance, and you know, it's one of my only tattoos. I got, you know, it's fall down 7 times, stand up 8. So I think, you know, perseverance is key.
We could do a whole show on that. Colton Nixon, everybody. I'm Dr. Pat. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with another topic that is related to this. What if you could teach healing in a way it's never been done before? Colton, thank you. Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Sweet.
Are you fired up? Thank you for listening to Power Up Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili, Unleashed, Unshaken, Unstoppable. If you missed any part of this show, subscribe to the podcast on the drpatshow.com or search Power Up Radio on any of your favorite podcast platforms.